Hello, and thank you for tuning in again live. It is Monday, December 16th. It is noon here on the East Coast of the U.S., and thank you for watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real-world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. And if I have a second, there we go. And there we go. You can find us at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. There's no obligation to get a subscription. We do offer 3 options if you are interested in purchasing a subscription. We do offer 3 different options for you to try it out before you decide to go ahead and pull the trigger. The first option is to take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where you get to go through and get a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to have a full Reinventing the Tattoo subscription. The second option is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. Maybe it's things you need to work on. Maybe it's things that you're not seeing. All of that and a lot more gets discussed in those consultations. And the third and final option is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. Highly recommend that tattoo history course. It's completely comprehensive and will literally take you through all of the history of tattooing. It's really an awesome course. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, as well as access to our Reinventing 24/7 option, which is a live stream, and it's got 13 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is accessible on all web-enabled devices. Everything from your laptops and your smartphones to your tablets, smart TVs with a web browser, the whole nine. It's all available at reinventingthetattoo.com. While you're there, you can also take a look at our collection of professional development courses and online video tutorials from over 20 world-class tattooers. Artists like Bob Tyrell, BJ Betts, Andre Malcolm, and a whole lot more. They're all there. They're all pre-recorded seminars that you can purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which, just like our Reinventing 24/7 channel, has about 13 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is accessible on all Roku-enabled devices. Your Roku TV, your Roku sticks, all of it. You can also find us in all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just go to your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo. And you'll find it all. It's all right there. It all pops right up. Except for the book, which is still currently out of print. Good luck getting your hands on a copy. I think I just saw a copy listed on eBay not too long ago for, it was a lot of money. I forget the exact amount, but I know when I saw it, I was like, whoa. So that is not available unless you go on eBay and you pay a whole lot of money for it. If this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We're always trying to get more people involved, and just let me know I'm not talking to dead air, so make sure you hit something so I know that you can hear me. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Very good friend of mine, an absolutely phenomenal tattooer, and he hosts it every Monday morning at 9 a.m. where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies, color theory, different fine art elements that help us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo world. Following Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom at 9 a.m. on Mondays, you have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group, hosted live at noon. just about every Monday. Sometimes I do take a Monday off if I'm traveling, where we get to go through and develop certain skills that we've been working on. Whether that's Procreate tips and tricks, maybe we're doing a live interview with someone that's got a different perspective on the industry. Maybe we're looking at painting analog, designing a tattoo and composition, working with different clients and how to get clients to interact with different things. All of that and a lot more is discussed here on the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group at noon on Mondays. And capping off Mondays at 9 p.m., we have the subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew and Guy Aitchison from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. You will need to have a subscription in order to access those 9 p.m. drawing groups. Those are paid for groups, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, I did them for about 2 years, and you can notice a significant difference in the work that I was doing before I started doing those and the work that I'm doing now. There is a monumental amount of difference that you will get just from joining the Monday evening groups. I can't stress that enough. It completely changed the way that I do a lot of things and really helped me achieve another higher level of what it is I'm capable of doing. It's really going to push you. So just be aware of that. Following that, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing, marketing, advertising strategies and techniques. Maybe it's talking about your client workflow and your client communication workflow. Maybe it's talking about just client communication in general, or ways to really maximize the efficiency of your booking system. All of that and a lot more is discussed. That's Wednesdays at noon, the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen, starting off with WorldTattooEvents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in this post-pandemic era, there are still certain conventions and events getting rescheduled. So if you want to stay up to date with the latest, most current tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting, make sure that you take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers. This is the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattoo artists of all levels. They are 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking to maximize your client booking process, to help you get more butts in seats, to help you get more clients through the door that really want to get the kind of work that you really want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. They have been an industry leader for over 20 years, and I can guarantee you they know exactly what they're doing. Would also like to thank Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. He might still have a couple of custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very quick thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. This is my preferred place to send people whenever they're asking about what an apprenticeship is like or where they can get more information on a tattoo apprenticeship. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please go ahead, post a positive review on the channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom of the page. That way you can stay up to date with all of the new current shows coming out and all of the new episodes on each show. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. We will get back to you as soon as we can. And that kind of wraps up the intro for today. Thank you for bearing with me. It's been a couple weeks since I've done it. And I'm going to quit that and maximize this. And I do apologize in advance if I sound a little weird. I do have a little bit of a sinus thing going on, so it's kind of stuffing me up, and I kind of feel like I sound a little bit nasally. Um, would also like to say a very quick and thank you shout out to tattoos.social. This is the new upcoming platform for tattoo artists and tattoo enthusiasts. So if you're really looking to become more integrated into the tattoo community, take a look at tattoos.social. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't thank the creators enough for putting something together like this. From there, you have access to all different types of platforms, from Tattoo Now, Reinventing the Tattoo, Fireside Tattoo Network, and a whole bunch of other ones. And it's all right there, right in one central place. Take a look at tattoos.social. I'm on there. I help out with it sometimes. Absolutely great place to go through and get to know other artists in the tattoo community. Awesome. Awesome. Would also like to say a very awesome and very great thank you and shout out to Yafet Santiago and his team down at Sparkov Entertainment for hosting and running this year's Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention. It was absolutely fantastic. I really, really loved it. The level of artists that work at the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention, it's just on a whole new level. Um, Sometimes you'll go to certain tattoo conventions and it's like, okay, well, let's see what everyone's doing, and you might see a couple that are kind of like, every single tattoo that was done at the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention, every single one of them was absolutely incredible. I mean, we're talking absolutely flawless technical work. We're talking composition was great. Everything was just so on point. It was ridiculous. Could not thank those guys enough. Hopefully, we can get them on to talk about this past year's show and to maybe help get things rolling for next year. Who knows? Maybe we'll do some live broadcasting down there next year. But it was absolutely incredible show this year. Thank you so much for putting on that show. Everyone that's involved with it, it's absolutely fantastic. Um, yeah, awesome, great. Let's see what we've got going on here. I'm going to pull up the chat in case anyone makes any kind of a comment. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. I do believe yep, it does say that my audio is coming through. Hopefully it is coming through well. And I do have my chat box up, which is awesome. And I was actually getting ready to work a little bit more on this dragon that I started sketching up while I was at the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention. I was extremely inspired. And yeah, so I think I'm going to be working on that for a little bit today. Let's go through and we'll do this. There we go. Oh, wrong one. Wrong button. You can tell it's been a little bit for me. Ah, there we go. Much better. Wonderful. So I know I started sketching in some of these waves, and I was doodling while I was in the airport on my flights home, and decided in a little bit of a different direction. So I'm actually going to turn that layer off and then make this a little bit lighter. And you know what? I'm going to go through and just make this super light as well. That way I can still kind of see where the placement is on it, but now I can draw over top of it with a different color and have it come out a little bit more visible so that I can go through and sketch a little bit easier when it comes down to making these waves. Um, and I always get inspired by one of my favorite artists, Augustine Nazumi. He's absolutely fantastic. I love the texture he has in his water and how he gets his waves to crash. So I'm actually going to go through and maybe sketch a little bit. And let me just, okay, good. That's going to be visible. Well, it should be visible. Maybe I'll tone the background down a little bit more. It should make it a little bit easier to see with a lighter value and color. So this should show up pretty well. One thing I did notice when I was studying in my time studying waves is that there's a lot of different ways that you can draw waves. One of those ways is to give it a very strong, fierce, powerful crash. And that's typically denoted by a lot of very sharp points. Um, you've got a lot of very powerful movement coming out from water as it crashes. And that tends to lead a very, very much more almost linear kind of crash with the waves. You might have a little bit of spray or a little bit of fall off, but a lot of it's just going to be very much very angular. Um, the other way that waves typically tend to be drawn is more of like a rolling wave, where you get a lot of rolling curves, right? And that's going to be used a little bit more for like if you've got maybe some more gentle swells, or maybe you just have like some nice rolling kind of wave crashes that don't have a whole lot of force behind them. So I think I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to try to draw this with a little bit more of a sharp splash today. And I'm going to see how that goes. So I'm keeping my purple wave that I already drew here before up. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of draw over top of that so that way I can kind of keep my basic flow going with some of these waves. Maybe I'll add one here that kind of branches off. Um, so I'm just going to go through and play around with it kind of quickly. I'm going to draw on a new layer. I'm going to keep that layer there and visible, just kind of a little bit lighter. And I always like to start out at the tips of my waves and kind of bring everything back in. And what I find is that by doing it this way, it helps me maintain the water flow coming back to its original source of where that wave is crashing, right? So here I would do the same thing. I would start out at some of these tips, maybe add another one up at the top. And then here I would do the same thing, always trying to pull it down into the same line or the same spot. Just because I want to make sure that the water that I'm drawing is going to have the right kind of direction and the right kind of origin point. Um, it's always helpful when you take a minute, you take a step back, maybe put something that you've been working on for a little while down for a little bit and try to, just kind of like revisit it. I'm actually going to adjust my picture-in-picture image real quick. So please hold. We'll do.
What's
Who's
up,
that? Is that
Jason? Can you hear
is that
me?
Mr. Wisdom? That is Mr. Wisdom. Hello,
I'm
Mr.
here.
Wisdom.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear
Amazing.
me?
I can.
Wonderful. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
That should
the
be.
very cool lesson on waves and stuff. They're getting good, man. They really are. Really getting good. It's a
I
process. You work
appreciate
on it a
that.
lot.
It
So
is.
yeah, they're getting good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you work
yeah.
on it
Me,
a little bit.
I'm
Uh, you
what?
know, it's
Well, I
going
was gonna
well,
say,
man.
yeah, I mean that in the most complimentary way. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no,
And that
that's how I
is
took
that,
it.
like, I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous of your waves. That's the this ultimate compliment.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah, I hate them. I hate their wave. I hate those waves because I'm
You know,
jealous.
it's some.
So yeah,
I know
yeah,
whenever
like
you
over
say
here,
something,
too
it's always
jelly.
coming from the best place.
I'm jelly. So I hate them. But that means I'm complimenting you. I know
Yes.
it doesn't make sense, but I want to make sure that, wow,
That
those cool, man. Yeah,
having more,
that's looking pretty cool, dude. So
yeah, having a bit more of a
I want to
spike.
ask, since I got you here, what is the shape that you're drawing them? It looks like they're they're different moods almost. You know what I mean? One's kind of a
Yes.
vibe of, like, sort of slightly, it's, I don't know, it's a little wider, and those ones
Yep.
are real tight. It
Yeah.
does show
So,
tension. You were talking about flow and tension, but
yep.
yeah, let me hear what you're gonna say.
Yeah. So the when you've got a little bit more of a spiky path for the waves, maybe this will have a little bit more of a curve, but when you've got a little bit more of a spiky path and more of a direct line with the waves themselves, what it does is it creates a little bit more tension and a little bit more power. If you've ever looked at waves kind of really forcefully crashing off of a rock, right? You're going to have a very direct spray and it's going to have a lot of power behind it. And it's really going to, that power behind that wave crashing against that rock is really going to force that water out at a very, very powerful trajectory. And it's going to give it a lot more power and a lot more motion and movement. Whereas if you have more of a curve to it, it kind of removes some of that power, some of that force behind the water that's crashing into whatever object. Um, so I'm kind of going through and playing around with different atmospheres and different ways that I can create almost an emotion with the waves themselves.
Sweet.
I haven't quite figured out if I want to go through and have the waves have more of like an aggressive kind of energy to them, or if I want them to be a little bit more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards more of a relaxed kind of flow like I originally had, just because I think that might go with the dragon a little bit more. Because the dragon that I have and the face that I have, he doesn't have a big open mouth. He doesn't have bared teeth. He doesn't have any kind of like an aggressive stance. Um, if you guys can hear the cat in the background, by the way, I do apologize. She gets to be very needy every now and then. Um, but the purple waves that I have drawn are very much more so relaxed. They're just kind of like rolling and crashing, kind of going about it. And the dragon itself has a very kind of peaceful, borderline serene kind of look. You can see a couple of teeth, but he doesn't have a very aggressive expression on his face. He's just kind of like floating through, like, oh, hey, what's over here? Let me go over in this direction.
Oh,
Um, so I think I might try to balance that out with some more energetic waves and just see how that looks. Don't know if it's going to give me the kind of look that I'm going for, but you never really know until you check it out and try it.
no, very cool.
Yeah, I always like trying to play with just the different types of contrast in a piece. And one of the ways that you can create a form of contrast is by creating almost like an emotional contrast. And it's something that I don't really see too many artists doing very often. So it's something that I'm really been trying to incorporate a little bit more into the work that I create.
Emotional contrast. Could you elaborate?
hmm I will be happy to elaborate. So emotional contrast could be something like, um, having someone, say you're doing a scene with a person and maybe they're wearing like a yellow rain slicker and they've got an umbrella and they've got this very disappointed, very like sorrowful look on their face, but it's a bright, happy, sunny day with maybe a couple of clouds in the sky and you see some birds flying around. So you've got a very happy scene, but you have this figure in the image that creates this kind of very depressing, very like downtrodden kind of feeling. So it automatically creates this kind of contrast between your subject and your environment, right? Because you're looking at it and you're like, oh, bright colors, bright beautiful day, nice and sunny, couple of clouds, birds are flying around. Cool, it's probably going to be closer to a happy scene. But then in the middle, you have this completely contrasting figure where that really is going to stand out because of the emotion that it kind of invokes in you when you view it. Um, it's kind of just like a play on, um, just playing around with like, hey, if I can create an image that can create this kind of an emotion, um, what can I do to contrast that to really make it stand out? It's you see it a lot with like in some of Gunner's paintings. He'll do these beautifully rendered images, and some of them will have very vibrant colors, but the images themselves are kind of sad. Like dystopian future. Kids playing with a broken wastebasket or something like that. So it kind of creates this dichotomy of emotion in the viewer as you're looking at it. And it's something I've always been fascinated about.
I like that. I like that very much. That adds a lot of interest to otherwise it's simply mm, obvious, right? It can be
Right.
perhaps a bit too can be too optimistic. And we don't need
Well,
that.
and it can be too predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when things become predictable, they don't necessarily become interesting. It becomes status quo.
Mm,
So if you're looking at it and you're really trying to create some kind of an not doesn't even necessarily have to be an emotion, but just if you're trying to create something that's really going to stand out, that's really going to make people sit back and be like, oh, wait, I wonder what's going on over here with this. One way to do that is to go through and, create an emotional contrast. And that's going to really help certain things stand out and really help certain things be differentiated from other elements within whatever it is you're drawing or painting or tattooing. Um, that's why I always look at pieces like, uh, look at some of the great Renaissance masters, right? Look at the Archangel Michael, the painting done by Raphael, right? It's this gorgeous angel, this very well rendered, very, almost divine creature that's stepping on the head of, this evil creature that isn't quite as well rendered. It's a little bit more blocky, a little bit more choppy, not quite as refined as far as the detail goes. You can still tell what it is, but it definitely has a more ominous kind of color scheme and tone. It's not as vibrant. It doesn't use the same kind of high chroma kind of color scheme as St. Michael above it. So, you can see different types of emotional contrast going way back. And it's just always something I found very, very fascinating. And it's something that, I see a lot of tattoo artists out there that are really kind of struggling to try to find, well, what makes their tattoos unique and different than everyone else's. Um, and I think it's something that, if I can if I can get on that train early and, really try to get into it, I can really kind of create my own unique kind of fingerprint on the tattoos that I do, just based on the amount of emotion I create within the imagery. Um, then again, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it's not going to work the way I think, but it's worth a go, worth a shot.
I think that was actually the truth right there, Jason. It never works out the way we think.
Well, this is true.
Never. Yeah, right. You just said it. You just said that. That was true.
Yeah.
It never works out the way you think, for sure. But but it does seem to work out, which is a really interesting. It's interesting that it seems that way too. Whatever, uh, whatever. Uh, a lot of times with problems, with issues, or things that seem that bring us troubles, right? They do seem to work out somehow in the end.
Right. Right.
And I do feel like that has a lot to do with you know knowing what happens at the end of the sentence tells you what happens in the sentence, what it's about. Um, and this again is, I think there's a really nice, you have an interesting concept with this emotional contrast that you're talking about. Um, yeah, I do think it does add a lot of interest. Um, with an accent on, like on people thinking about it. You know what I mean? It hopefully it makes you think about something interesting, and
Well, and
that's
that's what I really like. I reflect back a lot on some of the tattoos that we saw at the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention
a
while we were down there. And I remember looking at certain pieces that were done. I think some of them were in best of show, some of them were just very beautifully executed. And I remember looking at them and I was like, why does this stand out to me? Why is this different? Why am I so attracted to this imagery, right? And I think some of it was because of um, just the way that it was rendered. You would have certain areas of bold color, like flat, solid, saturated color, next to areas with beautiful gradients and high detail that's very, very well rendered and executed. And then that'll be next to something that's very abstract and geometric, which will be next to a negative shape, where there is no tattooing, that'll lead your eye to a different space where there's another type of style that's done. So some of them are very fascinating to me in that aspect. Um, Other ones that I saw there were very well rendered, very well executed, but to me, they just almost seem, you know, not very visually interesting. It's like, okay, that's cool and it's well done, but how is it different? You know?
good
So I
good
really
point.
like,
No, really good point. And I think this is really interesting too. Like there's definitely some artworks that you might like, but you may not want to live with it. You may not want to have
right.
that on you. You say like a tattoo, same thing. Like again, you might be kind of, you might really like something, but not go for it because it's just too, you know, it's too intense.
Either,
It's
too intense, maybe it's not intense enough,
definitely, definitely
you know?
like whatever. Yeah, it doesn't have the emotional, connection for you. I do think that is. I think it's a weird thing. What you end up going with, right? What you end up, it's a compromise of some sort. It just is, like I didn't compromise at
Right.
all. Okay, I bet, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
right.
compromise of sorts, and you end up with where you end up. It was supposed to be that way, obviously, because that's where you that's where you are.
Right.
So you have to live with it. But again, so interesting, um, how you end up the really complex series of calculations you make. Uh, and again, even if you don't, you just sort of shoot from the hip, as we say proverbially.
Right, right.
You just you go with the quick draw. I don't. Um, I still think there's a lot more to it. Then there's more to it than you even realize at that
Right.
point. there's
Well,
so much more to it than you even realize. If you
and I
think you're
think
shooting from
that's
the hip, you got another
right.
thing coming. So
I think that's important to note too. It's like, um, you can think you're just shooting from the hip, but subconsciously, there's probably a reason why you're doing things the way that you're doing them.
right.
But it's also important to note that you can take these things to the nth level of micro examination, to
Hmm.
really dive into, well, I don't like these waves with this dragon because it doesn't look right. Okay, why doesn't it look right? Like, what would you have done differently in this situation? So you can really dive down that rabbit hole if you want
Mhm.
to. um, it all kind of depends on personal opinion here, but it all kind of depends on how involved the person creating the image wants to look at things, how much time they want to invest into it, and how much they really care about, trying to execute something that's got that extra level of like depth to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Totally. No, I
Um,
definitely know. I definitely know what you mean there, and I think you're totally right. Uh, Really, uh, we are subject, right? We're all subject to uh, the reality of like we can't know it all, right? We can't know everything. We can't know exactly what is going to be the right choice, right? Whether it's an art or like selecting your tattoo or any other sort of choice that you might make in your life. Um, I think you can know that it's not going to work out the way you planned. I think that's what you can know about
right,
all that
right, right.
about all those things. Like it's not going to work out the way you planned, but it
And as
ends
long
up
as you
working out.
accept that in the beginning,
Yeah, it does
you're
end up working
fine.
out. Yeah, you already know the thing. You already know that it's not going to work out the way you planned, but it will work out. So yeah, I think that is always difficult to remember in the when times are tough.
Right, right.
And it's the time of year where it can be a challenge. It can be a challenging time of year uh, for a lot of
Uh,
tattoo artists.
this time of
So,
year is a very challenging time of year for a lot of tattooers.
so I want I
Um,
don't want to give that short shrift, but really, I think. Uh, and something that I'm always working on, and had a lesson I'm always trying to learn. So this isn't like I know the right answer, I know the way thing. More like this is what I struggle with, but I feel like it makes a big impact. Is communicating with your clients. you know,
right, true,
and you
absolutely
communicate with your
true.
clients, and you talk to them, and you draw pictures for them, and they give you notes sometimes, and I think you do with that as you will. Everybody has their process, but a lot of times you do want to be recognized and heard, and ultimately there's a collaborative aspect to the tattooing part of things.
Right,
So
right.
um right. The other and really, and I do it is I am trying to plug it, but like, but um Tattoo Now does do a lot of the um the labor, right, of communicating with your with
Oh,
your
absolutely.
your clients.
They'll help
it's
you get
all this
forms
automated
set
stuff.
up that your clients can fill out, that they can write
Yeah.
down all of the tiny little specifics. They do it right, man. Tattoo Now does it right.
It's pretty small shop. It's pretty much Gabe.
Yeah,
It's
true.
pretty much just Gabe, but there's there are a lot of tools that could help you communicate with your clients a lot more effectively, and really uh, just let them know that you care. You know what I mean? It really is sort of it reminds people of their appointments. Maybe people don't have any trouble with this at all. But the other thing that's really nice is the one box. One box, it brings
Oh, yes.
everything to your one inbox. So your email, all your social medias, and then of course, like you'll get a you get your own number, your own phone number, digital phone number. Anyway, it helps. It really does help. So um, uh, you should check it out. It isn't it it like I think there's a lot of products out there. So if you're happy with the way things go, great. Whatever you're doing to make it work. Um, but Tattoo Now is
Well, they've also been
really it really
around and doing this for a long,
he's
long
been doing
time,
it for
man.
a long time,
Yeah.
super
I
long time.
remember some of the first tattoo websites I came across back in the early 2000s,
Hmm.
back when, like, it was post.com boom, but, like, I don't, a lot of the tattoo industry hadn't really gotten to the point where they're like, oh, I need a website.
Uh,
But some of the first ones I remember seeing were Tattoo Now hosted websites.
yep,
And I was like, oh man, this is great. This is like one place I can go to and like see what everyone is doing. It's awesome.
it is. Well, that part of it, that's a nice component that I do like. I do like that aspect of it. That it's a it's a great portfolio of all these of all these different tattooers work. So that's another thing that you could take advantage of if if you start working with Tattoo Now. You can definitely use they'll host all of large uh your large images right there. So they're ready for printing and stuff. Um, so it is that is convenient. And yeah, definitely website stuff for sure. All that website, any website services that you need. Uh, Gabe is very knowledgeable about that stuff. But yeah, just definitely keeping in touch with your clients can be, uh, I don't know, it's worth it. I think it does make it worth it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, for every client I'll go through and I'll, try to do something, different, and I'll really go down the rabbit hole of, hey, what if we did something like this? Or, it's a little bit different, but, I think it would look pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain clients I have that I know are pretty open to different things.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something that I've started to notice as well. It's like the more time I spend really trying to create something unique and special for my clients, for a lot of them that are into getting serious tattoos, a lot of large scale stuff, sleeves, back pieces, things of that nature. I'll spend quite a bit of time developing drafts and sketching and brainstorming with them to come up with just the right thing. That way, number one, I know what their expectations are and I know they're going to be happy with it. And number
Mm-hmm.
two, I know what I'm getting into and I can meet their expectations in a way that I know I'm capable of doing. So it's, something that I've really started to find has been very, very helpful is, sometimes going back and forth with a client like, hey, listen, here's a quick little mock up I did of what I'm thinking or the direction I'm thinking of taking it. Let me know what you think. And if you like this direction, if so, I'll continue to go with it. If not, let me know. It's not too late to change it because
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't put in a whole lot of time into this. So I'm not out, like 30 some odd hours worth of drawing just for one concept that is going to get shot down. Maybe I'll spend an hour or two just like drafting something or sketching something for like a sleeve or a back piece. And I'll show it to him. I'll be like, hey, rough concept, rough idea, might change a few things, but general idea, general direction. Is this what you have in mind? Um, Sometimes they get back to me and they're like, dude, that's sick. Can't wait to see, the finished drawing. It's like, sweet, cool. Heading in the right direction. It's all I needed to know. Other times they're like, well, I was thinking something more like this. And it's like, cool, not a problem. I've got plenty of time to change this. Let me go through with your feedback now, and I can go through and tailor this a little bit more towards the direction you were trying to originally head in. So a lot of it does come down to just going back and forth, maybe putting in that extra 35 minutes worth of work to create something that is really going to meet everyone's expectations and is going to, just really get the job done. Um, Unless people are like dead set on getting an image that's already been tattooed, it's like, well, I kind of just really like the way that this is. And it's like, well, that's great, but that's already a tattoo, and I'm not that artist. Um, and I'm not willing to rip off someone else's tattoo design. Sorry. I can draw my own version of it, but it'll probably look different than what you're thinking. So if you still are trying to head down this path, let me know and I'll sketch up my own version of it. But otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. Because I recently had a client that was like that. They wanted to get something done, and they absolutely fell in love with this one image that was already done as a tattoo. And it was a half sleeve, but this guy was just trying to stick to like his calf. And I was like, that's not going to look right, you know? So sometimes you have to like educate your client too. I think that's also a big part of it.
Yeah, that can be difficult. Yeah, there is a necessary conversation certainly has to take place. Um, and growing is hard to do, right? Any kind of growth
Yes.
is challenging. So, um, so yeah, no, I think that that makes a lot of sense. You really do want to care about you want to care about your customers, and yeah, I think that that shows through. That I mean, that makes a big difference for them. Um, so yeah, and it's important, and I do appreciate where you come from with the, the ethics. Right, there's a certain ethic. Uh, you don't you're not copying somebody's work, not giving them credit, something like this,
Right.
and
Or even if it's a drawing that another tattooer has done, or, a design that they've come up with that they posted online with, maybe like the words wanna do or up for grabs. It's like,
mm,
well, I mean, if this artist wants to do it, book the appointment with them. Like,
right, yeah,
why are you coming to me with this?
that is a good point.
They're the ones that want to do this. Go to them. They're going to put way more effort into it than I am.
Wild, yeah, that's wild. Um, that's a really, yeah, really good point too. Really good point.
Yeah. I do actually have a conference call later today. Someone that we both got to talk to for a little while at the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention,
Hmm.
who is putting on a show out in Tampa this year. It's going to be their first time doing almost like an educational slash seminar type event. Um, so that should be very interesting. It's going to be called Ink Mania out in Tampa, Florida, and I've got that call with them later today, to go through and take a look and see if maybe it's something that I'm interested in coming down for to present at. Um, I haven't gotten any of the like nitty gritty details on it yet, but I know quite a few people that have presented up at Paradise Gathering, maybe attending that show and maybe presenting at that show. So, obviously it still has to get ironed out and whatnot, but I think it would be a great opportunity for people that may be in Florida to go through and take advantage of the opportunity to, maybe take their career to another level, maybe learn some new things, come and network with some of us. I think that'll be an awesome time. But more on that as it develops.
Cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I'm always interested in new things that are happening and new events coming up, especially ones that are run by people that have been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah,
Um,
really.
but I'm also at the same time trying to figure out the rest of my travel schedule throughout the year, and that's turning into quite the interesting time. Um, just trying to figure out like, okay, well, if I have this weekend and this weekend, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna work. So maybe if I do this one this weekend, I can squeeze this one in over here, and then that'll give me a little bit more time to spread some stuff out. So it's I always like to try to figure out or at least get a rough idea of my schedule in the beginning of the year every year. That way, at least I've got an idea
Hmm.
of, well, I was thinking about doing this one, but, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll switch that out for something different. And then you never know. This past October, I got an invite to a local show that was the first year they were doing it. And that show was pretty awesome. So, and that was the Lehigh Valley Tattoo Expo. So yeah, that one was pretty dope. It was pretty sick. Um, a lot of local artists were at it. There were a couple of heavy hitters there, so it was nice to be able to watch them work. Um, but that was a last minute deal because I had an idea of what was going on in October. Nothing was set in stone yet though, so I always just try to like plan ahead if at all possible. Just makes the rest of the year go so much smoother.
It's easier said than done.
True.
But I think you're very correct. These are seem like
Well,
basics. They seem like
I
basics,
and
but they are
let me
difficult.
preface what I just said, even though I already said it. But let me also just say that I don't actually book anything like booths or anything like that until about 3 months out, right? So I might have an idea of the shows that I want to do. I'm not going to actually put money down on them until about maybe 3 months before they happen. Um, in my opinion, too much can happen in three
Yeah, of
months.
course.
So and I don't want to end up committing to something that I then have to back out of because, well, maybe something happened with my car or something happened with a family member and I'm not going to be able to attend it anymore. And it's like, well, granted, sometimes that stuff happens anyway, last minute, and there's nothing you can really do about it. Um, but it gives me a little bit more flexibility with things like that.
Yep.
Sometimes people that I work these shows with don't even get back to me until 3 months before the show. Even if I bug them all year long, like, hey, what's going on with this? Are you doing this year? I need to know so that I can get everything in order. What is going on? And sometimes they just, oh, dude, sorry, forgot. Yeah, I noticed. That's why I sent you 1,000 texts. I'm just kidding. I don't ever send anyone 1,000 texts. I figure if it's important enough, you'll get back to me. So, um, but yeah, I'm very excited for Hell City this year. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Oh, that I got to put that on my list. I have to call Derb today too. Sorry, I've been a bit scatterbrained lately since I've gotten back from Puerto Rico. Just trying to get everything, all my I's dotted and T's crossed.
Yes, it was a great convention, and can't wait to do it again next year. Cannot wait to do it again next year. Yeah, Hell City, awesome. Hell City, are you doing? Are you going to do it in Ohio, or are you going to
Oh,
do it in Arizona?
I'm definitely doing Columbus 100%. Like that. That is a show that, much like the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention, that is a show that I will sell my kidney on the black market if I have to, just to go and work at that show every year. That show is absolutely incredibly well put on. Everything is smooth from load in and booth locations and placement. Everyone knows where everything is because there's signs for everything around. So it's not like, even if you're in the non main tattoo room, because they always have like one main room with the stage, and then they have another like area or two that's filled with tattoo artists. Um, Even if you're in one of those other rooms, they have signs everywhere saying, hey, check out these guys. They're over here. Come over here for more tattooers. Come get tattooed in this area. Uh, it's just very, very, very well put on. Um, and the turnout's great. The people that show up at that show are fantastic. It's just a phenomenal, phenomenal convention.
Yeah, it really is. It really is great. Um, well, can't wait to see you there. This water is looking really cool. I've been
Yeah,
enjoying
just
watching
kind
you
of,
put it
I'm
together.
just kind of going for something different.
Yeah.
This water has a bit more power, a bit more movement behind it, bit more, bit more motion.
Uh huh.
Whereas the purple waves that were originally behind that, and if I hide this line drawing, you can kind of see these purple waves are a little bit more like roly poly. They're a little bit more calm. They're just kind of like, yeah, we're crashing a little bit, but we're just kind of moving. Um, it's like, yeah, cool. But it's sometimes when you draw something and you can do it better, it's like, all right, let me go through and I'll redraw this. Although there are one or two spots that I need to redraw just for principle, just on principle alone. Like this is going to be far more well weighted than what it was before. So this doesn't work because this is too small to support this size wave.
Yeah.
It's not going to have enough water behind it to create that kind of a splash effect. And that's something I'm very, very big on. Because it's one of the basic principles. Like, if you're going to draw a wave, it needs to at least make some semblance of sense. That would be a much better option right there. Because that can come down that way. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be much better. Even this part here might not make too much sense, so I might nix this. and bring this down a little bit more. I overanalyze everything I do, by the way. So if you're watching this and you're like, wow, this guy's really picky, yeah, it's a problem I have. I'm very self-critical, and I always look at everything I do and I'm like, nah, I can do it better. Yeah, that would stand up a bit better, even though that doesn't look right now. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit better weighted. And then we can trim this down. We'll slim that down so that it doesn't have quite the weight. Yeah, that's better. This come down there. Once again, just trying to find your point of origin for these waves, and where the waves are splashing is important. Because without that point of origin, like it's never going to make a whole lot of sense, and it's never going to look right and flow right. Once again, this is just my over analytical brain talking, but it's something that, I kind of feel is important, I guess.
It seems important, and but I do like that it's about finding it rather than starting from it.
Right,
It's-
right.
There's something interesting about that bit. Like you just sort of begin, and then like you find where the beginning was through the through
That's
working
a,
through it. Through working through it.
that's
That's how you
also
end up
something that,
finding that out. Hmm.
so that also comes with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
When I first started drawing waves, um, just bring out. I'll just draw like a little guy. I used to start out by creating a little dot, right? And then that dot was my central most, like, I guess, crash point. So from there, if, maybe I had a little bit coming up here, everything I would do would come back into that central crash point, and then that would give me my almost like my anchor point for the water.
Mm.
Um, so, once you have that, you can go through and you can say, okay, well, this is here, and then maybe this will come out here, and then everything tends to make sense because it this is your crashing point, right? This is where that water is breaking and really crashing and spraying. Um, so it's just something that's how I started to do it. And now that I've gotten to a point where I know how everything is going to connect, I can kind of already see it in my head. I don't even really have to think about that central point of origin for the crash. I just kind of go through and do it. And as long as I have, well, I mean, even some of the previous layers I drew, um, where is, yeah. So this is, for this whole piece, this is how I started, right? So I already knew that all of this was going to end up right around here for this entire area.
Mm-hmm.
So I already kind of had an idea about where I wanted it to go. Um, this was just kind of like a happy little accident. Um, but as you can tell, just by looking at the green waves that I have up here, I can tell you right now, all of this is going to come back and start right about here. All of this is kind of flowing from this one centralized point. From the middle, like middle of the chest of the dragon, if that makes any sense at all. Um, so it's like I said, it's something that I don't even really think about too much anymore. It just kind of happens. But that's also because I've been drawing waves for a long time. So, and I still don't think I'm, you know, that proficient at them. Um, but it's also become kind of an obsession. So,
Well, I like that you're thinking about it, and how you're working your way through this, and they are starting to have all kinds of nuance and be very beautiful. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Jason, it was a honor and
It
to
was a
be able to work
beautiful.
with you at the Puerto Rico International Tattoo Convention. Can't wait to get to do it again. And again, thanks for having me on the show. It was really great to
Yeah.
get to hang out with you and chit chat. I can't wait to see this dragon all finished up.
Thank
So,
you very much.
of course, man.
Yeah.
Well,
It
I
was a pleasure, man, as always.
yeah, I will I'll hop off, but uh I will see you certainly next Monday. I'll be on at 9 a.m. So if you want to join me, feel free. And then yeah, everybody here join Drawing for Tattooers 9 a.m. And then Skill Building Mondays at 1 or at noon rather. So yeah, thank you. I will catch you next time.
Catch you on the flip side. See you next
See
week.
you.
Thanks for joining us,
Yep.
James.
Later.
Uh, Take care. Yeah, if anyone out there has any questions at any point in time, feel free to ask. Any comments or anything like that, just let me know. I'll probably draw for like another 5 or so minutes. And if no one has any questions, I'll probably end the session a little bit early. But yeah, if you have questions, ask away. Ah, cat, go away. I love my cat, but she can be a bit demanding sometimes. She is a calico, so that kind of explains some of it. Yeah, as James was saying, when you work on something long enough and you have this like mental, I guess, quest to kind of develop your own style with something, and you just keep hammering away at it, it'll happen. But sometimes it takes a lot more work than a lot of people think, and it just becomes a labor of love. And then after a while, it becomes habitual. And you're like, oh, I've got 10 minutes. Cool. Let me work on my waves a little bit more. And see if I can't figure out something different, like a new way to draw them or a new style of wave to draw. Because everyone's finger waves are a little bit different. Um, you can pick out Philip Blue finger waves from Andy Chamber finger waves, from Horiyoshi finger waves, and everyone in between. Everyone's got a little bit of a different spin on it, and I kind of view it as like a fingerprint, right? And everyone's fingerprint is obviously a little bit different. Some people are very, very similar, almost to the point that you can't distinguish. Um, but for the most part, everyone's um, finger wave kind of pattern or design is unique to that individual. So that's why I'm constantly trying to not reverse engineer, but just analyze my own work and try to figure out how I can make it either better or more dynamic. or more calm. Um, sometimes you'll see people that don't do very pointy or aggressive waves. Sometimes you'll see them do just very subtle kind of rolls. Um, and then they'll kind of bring this down, and maybe they'll have like another little piece that comes up here, and it'll just be like a rolling wave. And that's cool. Like that's definitely something that can easily be done. Um, but I like to be able to have many tools available. So if someone's trying to, really depict like a nice crashing wave, or if I'm tattooing an area where I need something to draw your eye either away or complement a shape, then maybe I'll throw in like a different style of wave. And then that can really bring your eye around to the whole piece. So there's a lot of different ways that you can depict the flow of water or the crashing of waves. Um, this is just kind of one of many different techniques and styles. But I always like to kind of go through and just kind of keep it organic. Maybe I'll add little bits here and there that might not be exactly planned, like this guy. Now I can keep this here and then just bring that back. Then that'll give it much more of like that spray kind of look to it, as opposed to just literally creating the same pattern over and over again. Um, I'm not a huge fan of that. I like to have a lot of variation in it because water is organic. It's not going to be a 100% predictable pattern every time. Um, so I always try to keep things interesting and try to make every part of it a little bit different. Even if it's just down to um, the curve or the curl on the underside. Maybe that's just a little bit different, or maybe I'll add a little extra wave roll on the back side of it, like here. Just to kind of show that there's a little bit more volume of water in that space being attached to that one specific wave, or one little finger of that wave than anywhere else. So just trying to keep it different, trying to keep it organic. That's why I try not to sketch too much whenever I'm drawing this kind of stuff, because it doesn't bode well for the organic nature of water. Water flows and it crashes and it eddies and it moves in a very organic nature, and you need to remember that whenever you draw waves. I know I talk a lot about waves and water in a lot of these podcasts, and that's because it's always been something that's always fascinated me. Um, and this is a very stylized version of drawing water and waves, so maybe it's not for everyone. It's definitely not a realistic or even pseudo realistic kind of method to draw water, but it's definitely a more stylized kind of methodology. When you look at it, though, from a distance, you can really get the idea that this is something, these waves are crashing behind this dragon, creating this spray from where he's decided to turn. Um, Even though I don't know if this is a male dragon or a female dragon, I'm still learning about dragons and what makes them different. Um, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a female dragon. Don't know yet. Don't know yet. Although I think the chin hairs and the beard kind of give it away as being a male dragon. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that would be a dead giveaway for me. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining today. Hope you guys got something out of today's session. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Tune in again next week. We'll be doing this again. Maybe you'll get something out of that. Hope everyone is doing well, and I hope to see everyone here again next Monday for the skill building Monday drawing session here live on Reinventing the Tattoo. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see everyone next week. Oh, and keep your hands busy.